The trouble is that, you know, there's so much going on well, not only in London, but over the whole of the country, in terms of cruelty to animals and the abandonment of animals, that something has to be done all the time, as you get one wave of people converted to the idea that an animal is forever, whether it's a cat, a dog, or a canary. So another wave of people comes up every Christmas, you know, giving puppies away, kittens away, and then turning up at the Mayhew and elsewhere saying, I don't want this anymore, or simply chucking it out. Animals are not discardable.
Tucked away behind the busy Harrow Road, London NW10, and a taxi ride away from the BBC Studios W12, there's an animal rescue and rehoming centre that was set up over 100 years ago, when mankind's neglect and cruelty to animals was rife. Sadly, the need for establishments like the Mayhew Animal Home still exists. This is the first impression you get as you're introduced to the home, exactly what they're up against, and what an important and sometimes forgotten role is played by the staff and sponsors involved. The Mayhew Home is a rescue and rehoming centre. It also caters for vaccinations and neutering, and is in the forefront of animal welfare education in the area.
The main function of the Mayhew Animal Home, it's a rescue and rehoming centre in northwest London. And what we do is we rescue animals. People bring them in, they drop them over the wall, they bring them to the door. Vets call us to, you know, bring animals, the RSPCA inspectors, etc. They come in many different ways. And our aim, once the animals are in, is to find them a home with responsible owners.
Sometimes there are problems. Sometimes people don't feel they need a home visit for whatever reason. And we do feel in a home visit there can be friction in that sense, but usually people are, you know, understand that from our point of view we need to see them in their home before we can let them have an animal from us. What I look forward to most is we've got a list there of the dogs that come in, when we rehome them, wipe them off, and it's like it's a never-ending goal of wanting to have the whole board clean, which is never going to happen obviously, but it's very rewarding when you see them going out to a home that you know they're going to stay home. It's good.
The Mayhew Animal Home has continued to receive widespread recognition for its high standard of work in its commitment to animal care, and in particular in its ever-enthusiastic and open-minded approach. Opened by the Mayhew sisters in 1886 for, in their words, the benefit of the lost and starving cats and dogs of London, the home has progressed enormously and is today one of the busiest animal sanctuaries in the capital, rescuing thousands of animals from cruelty and neglect. The work now extends far beyond this and includes teaching respect and care for animals, helping young and unemployed people through the home's work experiences and volunteering programs, and providing community services.
In here we have, this is where the neutering service every Wednesday morning. All animals that come into the home, cats, dogs, rabbits, maybe with the exception of the extremely small animals, are neutered. This is the room where it happens. The vets from the Harmsworth Hospital come over and they perform it. We have our own veterinary nurses here. We've got Ian who would assist in the operations. No animal is rehomed from here without being neutered, because that's the message we want to get across to people. If animals are neutered, well then it's going to decrease the amount of homeless and unwanted animals. A large part of their day is spent cleaning, as you can imagine. When they come in first thing in the morning, straight on with the gloves, cleaning all the kennels and the cats. It's done throughout the day.
Who was it said that take a dog for a walk and it will learn to talk to you? It's a nice thought. The Mayhew has a number of volunteers who look after all of the animals, giving them much needed love and attention. Many are young or unemployed people in the local area who gain great satisfaction from the experience.
To see these animals given the love and care of the assistant care workers, it's brilliant, because they get reassessed, their behaviour improves, and we get to know more about them, and to see them go out in full bloom to a good home is the best wish that you could have.
They're going to a good home, you know, and hopefully they'll settle down, they'll be happy. Small animals are often the ones that are neglected by people. People initially think when they have a pet that they'll have a cat or a dog, but really, I mean, a rat, a mouse, a gerbil, they can make really nice pets, and we've got plenty here. So it's quite hard to get these little ones out.
With smaller animals, it tends to be because of the lifespan. And a mouse really only lives, if you're lucky, sort of a year, just over a year. So, you know, if you come here, you could be getting a middle-aged mouse and you're only going to have it for sort of, I don't know, 6 months. So yes, they are quite hard to rehome, and again, it's all the cleaning and have you got time. With rabbits, because as I said before, they're high maintenance, and we do like to home them in pairs as well. Small animals, guinea pigs and rabbits should go with a companion.
The welfare of the animals at Mayhew is fundamental, and a great deal of effort and thought goes into seeing that they receive the best attention. A large number of the animals that arrive here have suffered neglect or have been abandoned, and need to be treated with this in mind. Harry Ekman, head of kennels, works very closely with the dogs that arrive at the home and is responsible for helping many of them come to terms with their traumatic past and getting them ready for a brighter future.
A lot of people come in here and they say, oh, it's so terrible, how could you work here, all these sad animals. What they don't see is the condition the animals came in and what they've come from, and the end result, which is where they're going to. And this is just kind of like a mid-area, and if you see the whole picture, you actually realise that these places are really worthwhile. And aren't quite as bad as a lot of people expect. The mental condition of an animal, certainly in our care, is very important. Kennels are quite a traumatic place for animals to stay, so one of our main concerns is making it as easy a process for the animal to be here as possible. As far as rehoming an animal goes, a lot of people don't realise what's involved as far as mental stimulation for an animal. They think that the dog's at home, the family's there, they walk it and that's fine. But a lot of dogs, especially the more active, intelligent ones, collies and German shepherds and things, require a lot of stimulation mentally. And a lot of people don't quite realise what's involved in that, and it's our job to actually inform them of what they need to be expecting when they home a dog.
Once the animals are back on their paws, the home is active in finding the rescued pets new homes. It has a strict non-destruction policy. With patience and a lot of hard work, the animals are found responsible and caring owners. This involves numerous procedures, including pre-adoption visits to the potential owner's home, and all being well, post-adoptive visits. These give the home visitors, usually volunteers, a chance to offer further help and guidance. Many of the animals that are adopted have been badly neglected. Despite their rehabilitation at the home, they may still be very nervous with new faces and a strange environment to cope with. The new owner is given sound advice in building up their pet's trust. They can, for instance, be alerted to the fact that some pets, although without malice, will do their best to rip a house apart.
And then after a couple of weeks, another home visit happens just to check that the animal is okay, the people are okay, that the owners are okay, and everything is going fine.
The work of the Mayhew Home now extends far beyond conventional animal welfare. The home strongly believes that education will be a prominent factor in resolving ongoing problems of animal neglect in London over the next 100 years. Tom Crowley is the home's community and education administrator.
I think education is vital for the future of animal welfare. After all, the people who we want to try and reach, the young people and children, are the future in terms of animal welfare. And if we can educate them now as to their responsibilities, and hopefully then the problems will be different than they are today. This is a rule. Show respect for animals and people. Why? I think there is a great pleasure to be gained from being in the company of animals. And that is what a lot of children that I meet, particularly the young ones, don't understand. They do have a fear of animals, a lot of children I meet. and they get great pleasure when they find out that animals do have a great benefit to them as well. Also, there are older people who are perhaps on their own and find great companionship from animals. And I think that also has to be borne in mind. Animals give a great deal, but of course we in return must give just as much, I think.
For over 100 years, the Mayhew Home has kept to its original goal to benefit the lost and starving cats and dogs of London, although now this includes many other animals. This is achieved through the enthusiasm and commitment of its staff and the people who support it. The home is run entirely through the goodwill of companies and individuals. It also has its famous friends who take an active role in support of the home. They include Joanna Lumley, David and Debbie Seaman, Doris Lessing, Elizabeth Emanuel, David Grant, Chrissy Hind, the Chippendales, Les Dennis and Amanda Holden, Jeanette Winterson, H from Steps, Brian Sewell, and myself.
I once was a friend of Miss Scott, the cat lady for Kilburn, and she was always being dumped with carrier bags for her kittens. She was an old age pensioner, you know. People might leave a 10-bob note. And yes, I'm pretty well. I think it's very patchy. There's either extremely considerate and careful looking after an animal, and then there's the other area where they're not regarded as being worth anything. For one thing, they try and see that cats are spayed, so they're not floods of kittens every year. Now, that's changed a great deal in the last 20 years I've been here. There used to be kittens in the pet shops, baskets of kittens. Thank goodness that has passed. They're not like that anymore. So that's impressive. I've seen the Mayhew in operation. I've been there, and I'm very impressed with how friendly it all is and how the cats are obviously happy, good spirits.
Well, their mother was found, I think, near some rubbish tip and was astray and was pregnant, and then the home took her in, and that's where she gave birth to those 4 kittens. And we came and we saw the last 2. And although I was just looking for the one kitten, the other, you know, they were both so gorgeous, we wanted to take them both. So, and their mother was extraordinary, very, very friendly. And so, you know, we thought, oh, there's a good chance these ones will be very friendly as well. And they are, they're absolutely gorgeous.
And I said, I want a large brown dog. And I end up with a small honey-coloured bitch, which... But the wonderful thing about her was that she was absolutely, you know, as thin as a rake. She was so thin you could double her round like that, fold her up. And she was scared stiff of everything. I took her into Kensington Gardens and she had agoraphobia. She put her head between my knees and wouldn't budge. And gradually she turned into a real dog. And now she's a proper old bossy boots.
This is the cat's kitchen, where the cats, all their food is prepared, and where some of our long-term residents, that's Scarlett, she's one of our longest term, and they all sleep in here. It's been here for a couple of years. And this is where all the pregnant cats have their kittens. And then when the kittens are born, they're kept in here as well, because it's a nice, quiet and warm environment. The names on the cages are people who have actually sponsored these homes for the cats. So no matter what cat is in this home, they pay a fixed amount every year, and in return they'll get information about the home.
All the Mayhew's good work is only possible through independent funding. Representatives from the home get their message across through various events, including local fairs and their own open days, and often with the help of the home's famous friends.
For the 2 open days, for the Children's Open Day, which is in the middle of May, and the big open day, which is on the 3rd of September, we open up this garden and have a lot of stalls, and we would have a beer tent, etc. We had that last year, which was a very good success. We have a barbecue.
It isn't possible for someone to adopt an animal, but for an annual or monthly sum of money, one can sponsor a dog kennel or cat cabin. It costs just £35 a year to sponsor a rabbit hutch, for example. James Hogan is the chairman of the home and one of the trustees.
We find each year now, as time goes on, the demands on our resources are becoming ever greater. And the projected budget for the coming year to run the Mayhew Animal Home is in excess of £800,000. And I have to say, I wake up sometimes in a cold sweat just thinking about it. But somehow we find it, year on year. And we do so largely due to the generosity of our individual supporters. Of course, we do have very kind and equally generous businesses and companies and organizations like charitable trusts who give to us from time to time. But by far and away, the work of this home depends on the individual donation, whether it's £5, £20, or even more, but whatever the individual can afford. And we also have increasingly the support of supporters who are living outside the immediate area here in London. We have supporters nationally and we have supporters internationally. There are people in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America, Russia, and most countries of Western Europe who know of the Mayhew Home and who support us on a regular basis. In the last couple of years, it's become increasingly apparent that we're working here at maximum capacity and there's very little extra that we can do. So we've looked at various ways to address the problem, and the obvious one is to open a new centre. So we've had some exploratory talks with a local authority on the outskirts of London where there's an available site, and hopefully in the next couple of years we will be able to open a home there, and that will have a primary objective of relieving the strain on the work here, but also it will enable us to do things which we're very limited in doing here, such as humane education and spending more and more time on the prevention rather than the cure. A lot of the work we do here is dealing with effect rather than cause. If we have a new centre, we'll have greater time and greater ability to be able to deal with the cause.
A trip through the Mayhew Home gives an insight to the extreme sense of care and commitment that is often taken for granted by most of us. Sadly, the last 100 years haven't solved the problem of neglect and cruelty to animals, but something is being done, and the public is more aware of the need for centres like the Mayhew. It's a heartening thought that there is a better future for these animals. It's even more encouraging that the right messages are being received by an ever more caring public.